The room erupted in laughter. Crystal chandeliers glittered above us while waiters carried silver trays through the ballroom. My parents stood proudly at the center of the stage, celebrating their 35th wedding anniversary in front of nearly 200 guests. I had barely lifted my fork when my younger sister, Brianna, spoke loud enough for the entire room to hear. "Whoa, easy on the food," she sneered with a smirk. "You haven't chipped in a single dollar for this party." Several relatives chuckled. My hand froze. I looked toward my mother, silently hoping she would stop it. Instead, she smiled sweetly. "Well," she said while sipping her champagne, "real family always comes first." The words hit harder than any slap. Real family. As if I wasn't one of them. As if the last 10 years of sacrifices I'd made had never happened. Around the tables, cousins exchanged amused glances. Even my father looked away. Nobody defended me, not one person. I slowly placed my fork down, smiled politely, picked up my coat from the chair behind me. "I hope the evening goes exactly the way you deserve," I said quietly. Then I walked toward the exit. Nobody tried to stop me. Behind me, Brianna laughed. "There she goes again, always so dramatic." The doors closed. Exactly 7 minutes later, the venue manager entered the ballroom carrying a leather folder. He walked directly to my parents. "I'm terribly sorry," he said, his voice trembling. The woman in the red dress canceled the booking payment before leaving. The room fell silent. He opened the folder. "She asked me to give you the bill personally." My mother's smile disappeared. My father's face turned ghost white. Brianna stopped laughing, because the total printed across the bottom wasn't a few $100s. It was over $86,000. And that wasn't even the worst part. 3 months earlier, when people first meet me, they usually underestimate me. I don't wear designer labels. I don't brag about money. I don't feel the need to prove myself. To my family, though, I was simply the disappointing daughter. Growing up, everything revolved around Brianna. She was prettier, funnier, more outgoing. According to my parents, she could do no wrong. When she failed college twice, they blamed the professors. When she wrecked Dad's SUV, they blamed the rain. When she maxed out 3 credit cards, they blamed inflation. When I graduated with honors and quietly built my own career, nobody cared. "You've always been too serious," Mom liked to say. I eventually stopped trying to earn their approval. Instead, I built my own life. I founded an event consulting company that specialized in luxury corporate galas and celebrity fundraisers. Ironically, most of my family had absolutely no idea what I actually did. Whenever anyone asked, Mom would shrug. "Oh, she plans little parties." Little parties. I smiled every time she said it. She had no idea. Remember that detail. It matters later. One afternoon, Mom called unexpectedly. Her voice was unusually warm. "Honey, we want to celebrate our anniversary properly this year." I smiled. "That's wonderful. We were hoping you'd help us organize it." For a second, I felt hopeful. Maybe this was finally different. Maybe they actually wanted me involved. That feeling lasted less than 2 minutes. "We already hired a planner," Mom continued. "We just need you to handle the boring paperwork." Of course, not because they valued my expertise. Because they wanted free labor. Again, I agreed anyway. Not because I needed their approval. Because I was already planning something else. Something none of them would see coming. The event planner they'd hired was completely inexperienced. Every contract crossed my desk contained serious mistakes. The ballroom deposit was overdue. The catering agreement had hidden penalties. The entertainment insurance wasn't valid. I quietly corrected everything. Each time, Brianna rolled her eyes. "You're obsessed with details." Dad laughed. "That's why nobody likes lawyers." I never corrected him, because I wasn't a lawyer. Not exactly. That was their first mistake. Weeks passed. Expenses kept growing. Mom insisted on imported flowers. Brianna demanded custom decorations worthy of a celebrity wedding. Dad upgraded the menu twice. Every time another invoice appeared, they'd wave it toward me. "You understand contracts. You'll fix it. You'll figure something out." Never once did they ask whether I had a life of my own. Never once did they say thank you. But something else kept happening. The venue manager, Mr. Alvarez, always greeted me differently. With respect. Almost cautiously. Whenever my family walked away, he'd quietly ask, "Everything proceeding according to your instructions?" I always answered the same way. For now. Nobody noticed those conversations. Nobody wondered why. As the anniversary approached, Brianna became unbearable. She mocked my dress, mocked my apartment, mocked my car. You know, she laughed during rehearsal dinner. Successful people don't drive 5-year-old SUVs. I smiled. You're probably right. She thought she'd won. She had no idea the vehicle sitting in my garage beside it was worth more than her condo. But I never mentioned it. The morning of the celebration arrived. The ballroom looked spectacular, exactly as I'd envisioned months earlier. Gold lighting, fresh orchids, live orchestra, perfect timing. Every guest admired the venue. Mom proudly accepted every compliment. Our planner worked miracles. Not once did she mention my name. I expected nothing less. Dinner began, champagne flowed, speeches started. Then came Brianna's unforgettable comment. Easy on the food, you haven't chipped in anything. The laughter, Mom's smile. Real family always comes first. That sentence changed everything. Because it confirmed something I'd known for years. I wasn't family to them. I was simply useful. Until I stopped being useful. So I left, calmly, without arguing, without tears. Because my work had already been completed. Outside, Mr. Alvarez was waiting beside the entrance. He nodded respectfully. Are you certain? I smiled. Yes. He handed me a document. I signed one page, then another. The booking sponsorship transferred instantly. So the family becomes financially responsible, he asked. They insisted they paid for everything. I replied. They should. He smiled knowingly. Understood. Remember that detail. It matters later. Back inside, 7 minutes later, the manager approached their table. The woman in the red dress has canceled her corporate sponsorship. Mom frowned. What sponsorship? Mr. Alvarez blinked. The booking was never paid by your family. Silence. It was reserved through the Sterling Event Group executive account. My father looked confused. What company? Mr. Alvarez stared at him. The company that owns nearly 40% of our luxury hospitality division. The room became impossibly quiet. He slowly turned toward the exit where I had disappeared. Your daughter, gasps echoed across the ballroom. Brianna's wine glass slipped from her fingers. It shattered across the marble floor. Mom whispered. No, Mr. Alvarez continued. She personally covered your deposits, negotiated every vendor discount, waived her firm's consulting fees, and guaranteed every contract. He placed the folder onto the table. She has withdrawn all voluntary sponsorship. Dad opened the bill. His hands began shaking violently. $86,000. Due immediately. Every guest watched in stunned silence. Nobody laughed anymore. Then came the second revelation. Mr. Alvarez cleared his throat. There's one more matter. He projected several emails onto the ballroom screen. Each one contained messages from Brianna, demanding free upgrades, threatening vendors, claiming she owned the event company, forging my approval. Every email had been preserved, time-stamped, legally verified. The room erupted with whispers. My father buried his face in his hands. Mom looked ready to faint. Brianna tried denying everything, until Mr. Alvarez produced the recordings. Her own voice, clear as day. I'll make my sister pay for it. Nobody defended her now. This is where everything changed. Within weeks, collection agencies began calling. The luxury venue pursued payment. Several vendors filed civil claims over Brianna's fraudulent instructions. Friends who had admired my parents' perfect family quietly disappeared. The gossip spread faster than any announcement ever could. Meanwhile, Sterling Event Group continued expanding. We secured contracts across 3 states. Industry magazines featured my company. Ironically, the same relatives who once dismissed me suddenly wanted invitations to networking events. I politely declined every request, not out of spite, simply because peace is expensive. And I had already paid enough. 6 months later, I heard my parents had finally sold their oversized house to settle their debts. Brianna moved into a small apartment after declaring bankruptcy. As for me, I never celebrated their downfall. I never posted about it. I never mocked them. I simply continued building the life they never believed I could create. Because real revenge isn't screaming. It isn't humiliating people. It's allowing them to face the consequences of the choices they proudly made. The last time I saw my mother, she quietly whispered, I wish we'd treated you differently. I smiled sadly. So do I. Then I walked away, not because I hated them, because I finally understood my worth didn't depend on being accepted by people who only valued me when I was paying their bills. And for the first time in my life, I truly felt free.